Hello everyone and welcome back to Kayla's Kitchen. Today we are doing another tea talk and the topic for today is tea as it relates to mental health. Today I am drinking this jasmine green tea from Heavenly Tea Company. I won this in a giveaway a little while ago and this is simply green tea scented with jasmine. And I am of course drinking this in my cute little mushroom mug. I absolutely love this mug. It's one of my favorites. The top comes off and you just have a really cute mug. So today we're going to talk about a couple of different things. First, we're going to talk about how tea can help improve your mental health. Next, we're going to talk about some things that are important to keep in mind about how tea interacts with your mental health and about the significance of that. And lastly, we'll talk about a few other things that you can do to help improve your mental health. So first, let's talk about how tea can help improve your mental health. And to do that, we need to start off by defining the word tea. Now, tea comes in essentially two different categories. There is tea that is straight from the Camellia sinensis plant, and then there is herbal tea, which essentially is just anything that doesn't come from that plant. It's important to create a distinction between tea that comes from the Camellia sinensis plant and herbal tea because each ones have their own specific benefits, but they're not the same. So let's start with Camellia sinensis. Camellia sinensis is made up of three very important things: L-theanine and epigallocatechin gallate, which is also known as EGCG, and those two things are antioxidants, as well as caffeine. Each of the 5 kinds of tea has a differing level of these two antioxidants and the caffeine, so each kind of tea has its own special way that it helps you or impacts your mental health. For example, black tea contains the highest amount of caffeine, but it only has a moderate amount of L-theanine and EGCG. Oolong tea, on the other hand, has the highest amount of L-theanine and EGCG. Green tea is sort of somewhere in the middle where it has the highest amount of both of them together. So it doesn't have the highest amount of green tea or these two antioxidants, but the levels are almost equal. So let's talk a little bit about what these antioxidants and the caffeine does for you. L-theanine combined with EGCG and caffeine produce a calm but steady alertness. The two antioxidants counteract the effects of caffeine, which creates a longer lasting effect than caffeine from coffee or energy drinks. The teas that are best for getting these effects would be a black tea, an oolong tea, or a green tea. L-theanine and EGCG both have links to helping with anxiety and depression. These two antioxidants help to promote a sense of tranquility, similar to the effects that your brain goes through when you are in a creative process or when you're daydreaming. The tea that's probably best to experience this would be something like a green tea. Now let's talk about herbal teas. Like I said at the beginning, herbal tea is anything that doesn't come from Camellia sinensis. So this can be basically anything. And that means that there's such a wide variety of herbal teas, it's impossible for me to hit on every single thing that's going to help improve your mental health. But there are a couple key ones. Number 1 is chamomile, and that's probably the most well-known. Chamomile, along with a valerian root, also produces a sense of tranquility. Another herbal ingredient that can both be taken as a supplement but can also be made into tea is St. John's wort. Now, St. John's wort is said to help produce hormones that help with depression like serotonin and dopamine. A few other mental health helpful things that tea has links to is that green tea in particular has links to memory retention. Some studies reported that participants who drink as little as 1 cup of green tea per week helped with their memory retention. Green tea also helps to reduce cortisol levels, which is going to help to reduce stress levels. Multiple studies were performed where participants drank green tea after participating in a highly stressful activity, and they reported lower stress levels after drinking the green tea than those who didn't. Now let's talk about a couple of things that are important to keep in mind when talking about tea in relation to mental health. Many studies have shown that while there is data to show that changes are made, there is little statistical significance. This means that while there is evidence to show that drinking tea might help with mental health, there isn't enough evidence to show that it proves that tea helps with mental health. It's important to make this distinction because some scholars will say that the links aren't strong enough and it's just completely unable to be proven. One of the issues with this is that there aren't a lot of studies out there about tea in general, particularly tea as it relates to mental health. Now, some people will take this evidence and say that tea drinking is just a placebo. It doesn't actually help your mental health at all. However, a couple of experiments have proven that claim to be false. One study was done where participants were given 2 drinks. Some were given tea and others were given basically like a flavored water beverage that they were told was tea. And everyone participated in the same high stress level inducing activity, and then afterwards some of them were given tea and some were given this beverage that looked like tea but was actually water, and everyone was told that they were drinking tea. Now, the participants who actually drank the tea reported lower levels of stress and higher levels of energy, but like alert calmness, while the people who just drank the water beverage didn't report that at all. So what does all of this kind of mean about tea and mental health? Essentially, tea can help with anxiety, depression, and stress levels. It's important to keep in mind that while this isn't necessarily proven, it has been shown to help in certain individuals. Now, lastly, I just want to touch on a few things outside of the actual act of drinking tea itself that can also help with your mental health. Number 1 is the ritual behind tea. Now, many of you probably know about tea ceremonies, but we're not necessarily talking about a ritual that is ceremonial or spiritual in nature, but a ritual is, as defined in like communication and just human behavior, it's just anything that is done repeatedly and consistently. Typically, when talking about a ritual, it is in reference to something that is also done intentionally. However, I would argue that someone's intention doesn't necessarily have to be there for something to be considered a ritual, because we still do things consistently every day without necessarily being aware that we're doing it. For example, pretty much every person has a morning and an evening ritual. The argument here for how tea can help affect your mental health is that adding in tea to your morning and evening rituals can help affect your mental health, because rituals in general tend to be good for you because they establish a nice routine. Now, having that routine alongside tea, which can also help your mental health, just goes to produce better benefits. But I think that the biggest thing to keep in mind here is that mental health issues are not a one-solved problem, and tea is not a cure-all. It's important to do multiple things to help you improve your mental health, not just drinking a cup of tea every once in a while. But all in all, tea has many health benefits. Even aside from the caffeine and the help with mental health, there are other things that tea is good for you for. So I think everyone should drink more tea. If you want to read more about tea and its effects of mental health, I have every information article that I use in the description box down below. But that's all for this episode of Kayla's Kitchen. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe, and comment down below what other things you do to improve your mental health. That's all for now, so as always, happy sipping.